Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me my friend, Tyler Ornstein. Now, Tyler and I met 2 years ago for the very first time on the Marketer's Cruise, and we've been on the Marketer's Cruise together now 3 cruises in a row. And this time I was like, dude, we got to get you on the show because your business has experienced massive growth since I first met you. And I want to be able to share this with my audience. So Tyler Ornstein is the founder of Tyler's Coffee and also Tyler Ornstein coaching, right? So doing coaching, helping business owners, right? He's got a lot going on and I could go on and on forever about Tyler, but what I can say, he is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I've had a great time chatting with him over the past 2 years. So I wanted to share him here. So Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. It's a privilege. And, you know, one of the things that I will say is I'm not brilliant. What I am is I'm strategic. I'm about strategic understanding of the market segments that I'm in. I've been in coffee for 20 years, if you can believe it.
Wow.
Started door-to-door at Bicycle, built the company to 7 figures plus. We've grown the company tremendously. And unfortunately, we're at a precipice right now where we actually have to pivot in order to stay afloat because the coffee world has gone absolutely bazonko. And the prices of coffee are going to just keep screaming. We lost 7 billion, that's with a B, billion pounds of coffee last year because of the droughts. Really, really unfortunate, but it is what it is. And for us to keep providing the best acid-free coffee for our customers, we have to pivot. And a lot of companies will not see the writing on the wall before it's too late. And we're a lean, mean fighting machine here at Tyler's. And when we see things on the horizon, we immediately change course because we don't want to hit any icebergs.
Yeah, I love that. And I was not aware about the difficulty with coffee that happened in 2024 with the drought. So that's good to know. So, you know, I wanted to bring you on, I think last year to talk about acid-free coffee because first of all, I love coffee. But what makes your coffee different is the fact that it is acid-free. So that already distinguishes you from every other coffee maker out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you've got this wonderful, really simple distinction that people can remember.
Correct. Yeah. So we're the world's first and only acid-free coffee. We're USDA certified. Not only that, we use a Swiss water decaf process to do all our decaffeination. If you don't see the Swiss water seal on your decaf bag, then that means that your coffee was treated with heavy chemicals, chemicals known for the state of California that cause cancer. So the state of California put out essentially a mandate that said coffee, you have to put a Prop 65 on it because there's certain chemicals in the process that can cause cancer. For us, because we use a Swiss water process and because we're USDA certified organic, we actually don't need to do that, which is really nice. And it really does differentiate us in the marketplace. The one thing that I can say is at Tyler's Coffees is we care about one thing and one thing alone. And that's quality over quantity. So we build our business off of quality products, quality customers, and quality service.
And I think that's huge because a lot of people just think, oh, it's coffee, right? But you guys have these fantastic differentiators that really help drive people in your direction. And I think that's really been part of what has helped your growth in this past year, despite the fact that there was an issue with the supply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we fanatically have gone through and created a product that does not have issues for people that have stomach related issues. And what's really exciting is when you look at the data, and so here's like a tidbit for listeners, always look at your data. Don't look at sales. Don't look at, I mean, sales is part of your data, but don't look at like, oh, if we did this or if we cut corners here. No, no, no. Look at the data. So we looked at the data. We have an 80% retention rate on our customer. We have a 4% churn rate on our subscription. So what that means is that even though our prices have gone up, people are willing to pay that extra amount because they know that they're going to be receiving the quality that they really truly need.
Right, exactly. So let's jump back to the beginning. Why acid-free coffee? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the story behind that is my father, he couldn't drink coffee anymore because he had, stomach issues, peptic ulcers really. And one day, and side note, we didn't really see eye in a lot of things. I kind of had a pretty rough childhood. He was a very strong-willed businessman that kind of forced things on you, but it was too much at too little the time. He didn't understand, but I digress. So we bonded over coffee. That was the one thing that we did do is we drank coffee together. One time he got this really bad heartburn and thought he was having a heart attack. So we rushed him to the hospital. Cardiologist comes out and says, "Hey, great news, you don't have a heart attack." Bad news though is you're probably going to see a gastrologist because we think that you have peptic ulcers, probably due to the fact of your diet. Da, 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 da. So he went and talked to the gastro. The gastro said, "Well, what's your diet?" "I drink coffee every morning." Cut that out. Why? "Oh, the pH is too low." That makes sense. He's like, "Well, how do I find a pH neutral coffee?" He's like, "It doesn't exist." And because my father's a biochemist slash inventor, he said, "Well, that's not an option.
Yeah.
Like, I can't not have my coffee."
Yeah, I
And
feel his pain. I'd be in the same boat. I'd be like, all right, how do I fix this problem?
and if he couldn't have his coffee, and how many other millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people couldn't? So he thought about this idea and then he explained it to me. I loved the flavor off the top. Like he made this coffee small batch form, and then we finally went to a roaster and we expanded into what Tyler's Coffees is today. With, I mean, we can produce 100,000 pounds a month, and he pretty much created this whole zero steam process that doesn't bloom the tannic and lipid acids in the roasting, using hot air and ultraviolet light. And by doing that, we're able to yield a pH that doesn't cause any issues for people that are having any adverse side effects with their coffee.
Ooh, love that. Because, yeah, over the years, as I age, my stomach has liked coffee less and less. Although I
Yes.
will say one of the things that I personally have done is I did get a water filtration system that changes the pH of my water. And so I've been making my coffee with more basic water. So either 9 or 9.5 to,
That's alkaline.
right. That's alkaline. Right. So it's more base than acid. And so it
Mhm.
balances the acid that's in coffee. But now what you're saying is I could have regular 7.0 pH water, make your coffee, and it would still come out acid,
Well,
pH
don't put
neutral.
percentages on there because there's always that adverse issue of like
Okay.
very. So you
Sure.
have minerals, you have temperature, you have ppms in the water. It just there's too
Right.
many variables. However, I can't make this clear enough. We don't bloom the tannin and lipid acids. And
Right.
tannins, lipids are the acids that wreak havoc on the GI tract.
Okay. Gotcha. So, well, and that sounds fantastic. So, yeah, I'm going to have to get a bag of this to try it myself, which I think
Yeah,
is, would love to do that. So, with all of this, what are some of you said you've been working in this business now for 20 years. What are some of the
yeah.
biggest obstacles you've come across in 20 years of business? And how did you overcome them?
Oh,
You don't have to
um,
give all of them. What are the first that come to mind?
I will say this. So I was cooking with gas and I was doing really well. And then I hired the wrong person and he almost tanked my company to the point where we were going to lose everything that I created.
Ooh.
And I am glad that that happened. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm glad that it happened because what it did is it allowed me to move forward in life of just no bullshit.
Yeah.
No bullshit. Like if my bullshit meter goes do, 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 done. It doesn't even need to go like, it doesn't have to be off the fucking scale. It
Right.
could be like at 2,000, 3,000 RPMs and I'm cutting it.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean that was the one thing that I can tell you. People that are listening, people that are understanding what's going on very clearly, cut the bullshit. If you have bullshit, cut it out. Don't think about it. Don't emotionally connect yourself to it. Don't look at it. Just get rid of it. Get absolutely rid of it and don't look back, because the amount of time, effort, energy, cost, stress, heartache, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
is astronomical. It is
Yeah.
astronomical, and I do not, under any circumstances, hope that anyone went through the situation I went through. However, I'm glad I went through that situation, because now there's zero bullshit in my life and I won't tolerate it.
Yeah. So let's define what's bullshit. Like, how do you define bullshit? Because I know my definition, but like, how do you define
One
it
of
so that we
my
know what to cut out?
favorite ways to find bullshit is if you hire someone and you say, do this task for me. I'd like you to do this task for me. And they say, okay, I'm going to get the task done on it. A couple days go by. You say, hey, was that task completed? And they say, do not about it. They're out. Do not run your business employees like your friends. They're not your friends. You pay them. You pay them a lot of money and you expect them to give you a lot in return. Do not treat your employees like friends. Do not hire your friends. Do not hire your family. Go out there and be the boss. And if you can't do that, then get out. Get out.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my
Get out
gosh.
of this business.
I agree, because the number of people, and I think I've probably talked about this on the podcast before, it just in passing, which is, the number of people who, when I was active in the network marketing industry myself, who would say, well, my sister won't have a party for me, or my sister won't join the business, or my cousin won't, or my friend won't, or all the people who are around them are telling them no, right? They're
Right.
doing you a freaking favor, because I made more money off of people I didn't know than people I did know.
Yeah, I know.
You,
I can tell you, it's just, don't work with someone that wants to be your friend. And it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very difficult. We brought the biz, we had 7 people in the office. We did office parties. We hung out after work. We did all this. We went to the bars. We drank. We did all the things should not do. And it kicked me in the ass and it cost me $750,000 in 2 years.
wow.
So if you want to run a company and you want to retain that $750,000 in your company, then I'm not saying be a hard ass and don't be a bad boss.
Right.
But when you want tasks to be done, get it done. Another thing that I will say is, do not have the mentality of, well, what do you think we should do? Yes, you can take ideas. You can say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna open up the room for ideas about this topic. What do you guys think? So on and so forth. And then we'll hear this and we'll hear that. And I will hear this and I'll hear that. And then I can take that accordingly. But when people say yes, boss, or yes, chef, or yes, sir, or whatever, yes, ma'am, what that means is that you pay their paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell them what to do. I know this might sound a little clash and a little forward, but there's a lot of people that are business owners that allow people to walk in, make buddy buddy with them, because let's face it, majority of business owners are very lonely. They're lonely people. We can network and it's fun and all that, but when we are our business, we don't go to an office. We don't go to a corporate structure. We don't do that. So when we employ people, what we do is we employ our friends. Not maybe off the top, but over time, because you spend enough time with them. Separate that, guys.
Yeah.
Separate that.
Well, I think there's a difference between being friends and being friendly, right?
Right. You can
One
be
can be,
friendly.
you can be their boss and be friendly without being friends necessarily with the people who are employed by your business.
Keep everything at work. If you're going to do work, do work. If you're not going to do work, then don't associate with them. I know that sounds hard. I do. I really, truly, but please understand that they're going to build this different rapport with you. And when they build that different rapport with you, then it's game over because now they can pull at your heartstrings and your emotions.
Yeah. And I think ultimately it comes down to being able to do what you talked about, which is compartmentalize and be the leader, right? And knowing that, when it comes down to doing what is best for the business is in the best interest for the employees because that keeps the business in business. So they still have a paycheck later. Right?
I can't stress that enough. Your weakest link is the person that's going to tank your company.
Yeah. And so it's really taking a look at who you have with you. And this is absolutely true in network marketing, even though it's not necessarily somebody who's going to be able to embezzle per se, or not that I'm saying that that's what happened with you, but because in network marketing, there's a very different setup.
No,
but one person can destroy a team.
Yeah, I got $250,000 embezzled.
Yeah. Well, and see, I didn't even know that. I was just, I'm just trying to make the connection between a business like yours where it's more set up more traditional style compared to network marketers, because that person who tanked your business or almost tanked your business is somebody who, had they gone into a network marketing team, could have done the same thing to the entire organization. I've literally watched entire organizations fall apart because one person brought in the bullshit, as you called it. In my world, I call that drama. They could not separate out, did not have the emotional intelligence to communicate properly, were not responsible, did not take 100% responsibility for their own business. It was easier for them to create drama, or what it sounds like what you call bullshit. So, I think that right there, that can tank an entire team.
And also incentivize your people. Incentivize your people. Be like, hey guys, if we meet this sales goal, I'll take everyone out. Now, when I say that, you do what you say. But when you say you take everyone out, you take them to dinner or whatever, and people are listening, wait, Tyler just said leave that. But what you're doing is you're creating an incentivization.
Yes.
And it's dinner, right? You're like, hey guys, you met a sales goal. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you. You're a team. Keep it up. You're doing this right way. You have dinner and you go your separate ways.
Yep.
You go back to the office the next day or, after the weekend, whatever you want to call it, and you're back to business. What I'm saying is if people come over and they hang out and you just do this and you go and party and you're building too much connection if you're paying them as an employee. But if you're, partnered with them or JV with them, I mean, it's just, there's different things. Like I would take I would take a business associate that doesn't work in my company and I go party with them, But when you have an employee and an employer relationship that needs to stay strictly professional, yes, you can incentivize. Yes, you could say, hey, you met this goal. We're taking you all out to dinner. You did it, team. Good job. But keep it very, very professional. And I've consulted on so many different business owners and I go, how's your culture? And like, oh, our culture is great. What is your culture? Oh man, I went partied with this guy. We had a great time and we did this and that. And I go, yeah, cut that shit out. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, they're going to build a connection against you to the point where you're going to be like, oh, well, I guess I could give you a raise. Or yeah, I guess I could give you access to more of my company. Oh, I guess I could do this. I guess I could do that. And it just starts, listen, it starts with the littlest things and it just grows. So cut that out, cut out the bullshit and just run your company the way you want to run your company. And if someone comes to you and yells at you or tells you you're doing it wrong, you tell them there's the door and F off.
Right. I mean, I think here's the thing, your business better than anybody else.
Everyone else.
If you're running it right, And so it's like you said, there's the I'm willing to take suggestion. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm going to decide in that favor, right? There's a big difference between listening to ideas and, letting other people make decisions for your business necessarily. So I think that's a really important piece there.
And we've had really bad decisions made at Tyler's with former people. Really bad. Like, oh my God, why did we do that? Oh my God, it costs $18,000 to do that, and we didn't get a single dollar back. What the heck was wrong with us? Kind of
Right.
conversation.
Right. And like you said, those are great learning experiences because now you know what didn't work. Very similar
Right.
to Thomas Edison, who said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. He just said, oh, that's not the way to do it. Okay. Until he found a way to make the freaking light
Yeah.
bulb. Right. So in your case, you were able to make the good coffee, but then there were other decisions that maybe did not speed up your growth at the speed that you would have liked to. Right. So it's just a matter of taking a look at those. So in terms of other pieces of running one's business, so you're saying cut the bullshit, incentivize your team, right? Build that culture and incentivize and recognize. Now, I will say that network marketing is very good. Companies are very good at recognizing and incentivizing team. Leaders aren't always doing that necessarily. So I think it's a good reminder for leaders to hear that and do the same. What else would you suggest to somebody who is starting a business or starting in network marketing in order to build a successful business? What is something else you've learned in 20 years at Tyler's Coffee to build a successful business?
Well, first and foremost, you have to have a product that the market wants. Don't be, people drives me insane whenever you hear like these motivational speakers and they're like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life and da da da. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, I guess when you say you want to be in business, what you're trying to say is I want to be rich.
Yeah, in
Let's be
many
honest.
cases. Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. You don't go into business. You don't take years off your life. You don't take, insane amount of stress. You don't take an insane amount of anxiety to live in status quo. Okay.
Yep.
If you want to go into business, you want to be successful in business, which means you want to make a lot of money. So find a product that's making a lot of money and build a better mousetrap. The riches is in the niches is the best thing I've ever heard. And
Yes.
I truly believe it. If you want to play the price commodity game, you're more than welcome to do so. However, it's going to be a really hard uphill battle. Like all of these drop ship people that I see on Instagram that are driving around their Lamborghinis, they're not driving around the Lamborghinis because they were making drop ship success. They're driving around the Lamborghinis because they did a really good course and those people started paying for those courses and that's how they made money. People will buy anything as long as it has value to them. So try to find something that gives value to someone and then put a price tag to it. Don't put a price tag to it and then build value.
That's so good right there. Y'all hit the rewind button, listen to that again, because that right there is brilliant. Because it drives me crazy when I talk to a network marketer and I'm like, okay, who is your ideal client? And their response is everyone. No, that's why you are sucking wind at sales. I'm telling you right now, that mentality and those words, that's why you're not selling. The reason I did well in jewelry is because I wasn't trying to sell to every woman.
Right.
I was selling to busy professional women who didn't have time to get ready in the morning. So I was like, stop going out and buying all these trendy clothes that you're not going to be able to wear in 3 years. Buy classic clothes. Let your jewelry be your trends. And they were like, oh, it's cheaper. It's way cheaper to do that. And so I sold to those women.
Yeah.
VPs of banks, realtors, people who had to look successful, who had to look good. And jewelry is a way to do that, right? I did not try to sell to everybody. Now, did other people than busy professional women buy from me? Yep.
Yeah, you're always going to have the overflow, which is great. Like that's what you want.
Exactly.
Tyler's Coffees, we've been nicknamed the backorder coffee. And I, one of my business resolutions this year is to never say that again. So what we're doing is we're cutting our wholesale division because we cannot support both. We can't serve both masters.
Yeah.
And wholesale doesn't give us the margins that retail does. And so they're done.
Yeah.
And it's sad because after what, 18 years of being in stores, we got to pull all our stores, 1,200 stores. But at the same time, all the customers that we've lost throughout the 15 years, if we had product at that time instead of giving it away, then we would be richer. Our company would be more successful. So you have to look at it that way. Are we giving up a lot of successful opportunity, or are we obtaining more opportunity so that we can support our customers best way possible?
Right. Because the customers who need your coffee because it's the only option they have,
Right.
because of their own health issues, we'll say, if you go out of business, they are SOL, no more coffee for them. Right.
Correct.
So, it's really being able to best serve your best client who is not bitching and moaning about the, dollar per bag or whatever. Like, I don't even know what your numbers are, but I'm just saying they're not going to bitch and moan. They're going to say, I will pay whatever it takes to make sure I have the coffee that I want that doesn't hurt my stomach.
Right. So if we can raise the price and we can make better margins, then we can support our customer better.
Right.
If customer says, hey, I didn't get coffee. Okay, no problem. We'll send it breakout next day. Like, oh, it got lost in the mail. It was very rare, but it happens. Or majority of people say, well, I'm on subscription, but you guys have been back ordered for 2 months. Now I'm going to get 3 orders, and this is just ridiculous. And then they leave.
Yeah. That's not the best service for the customer, right? So,
or
they're pushing back their subscription by 3 months because they just got 3 months of worth of coffee, right? They're like, I'm good, I'm fine.
We're now and the other thing, let me be very honest here.
Sure.
Another thing is we've had people tell us that they have tried Tyler's coffees and it wasn't good. And we said, well, what was not good about it, right? And come to find out, this is a handful of experiences, but we actually had someone counterfeiting our coffee on DHgate, and they were selling and it was a white bag with a logo, but you could tell it wasn't our bag and it didn't have our branding, and they were selling like shit coffee at a high price because people thought it was Tyler's. Anyway, long story short, we don't have to do that anymore. We can now just we can say, hey, if you're buying from tylerscoffees.com, you're going to get original product. You're going to get the manufactured product. You're going to get the quality that Tyler's Coffees has always provided. And you don't have to worry about any counterfeiting.
Yeah, exactly. Because the opportunity to control your brand, control your product is paramount. Even there are network marketing companies that I know have had people doing the same thing, but they're doing it on they're selling secondhand or fake product through Amazon.
Right.
As a third party sales, so I've seen a number of network marketers through my social media feed saying, hey, if you're not buying directly from me or directly from, my company's website, even if it's not from me, but if you're not ordering through, this company's name.com, if you're ordering through Amazon, you don't know what you're getting. It's not the same. It's not necessarily ours. So you can't, that it's not the same. Right. So I think that that's a brilliant tactic to be able to control your brand, control your product by having it only be through your website.
We had a situation. I'll be very quick about this. We had a situation where someone reached out to us and said, hey, we're no longer allowed to sell your coffee on Amazon because you're on transparency. And I said, that's correct. Yes. But we've been on transparency for 6 years. And they threatened to sue us because they purchased our coffee in the pallets form. They purchased pallets of our product, and they wanted to sue us because they weren't allowed to sell it on Amazon. And I told them, I said, listen, let's just make this really cut and dry. We'll buy back the inventory. How much inventory do you have? Blah, 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 blah. And they refused to give us how much they have in their warehouse. So they were just trying to bamboozle us out of some money. And that's the thing, like if we're wholesaling, that's a conversation that we could have, right? But
Yeah.
if we're not and we're sticking into just tylerscoffees.com and we don't have those conversations, which obviously is time and lawyers and money and energy that we just didn't need to put out there. I don't know. It's just, customer service is going to be key. We're here 24/7 for our customer. We get back to you within hours, not days. It's just all around better.
I think that's fantastic. So I would love to continue talking to you more about all of this, but we have other things to do today, and so does the Badass Crew. So you do have an offer for people who are interested in learning more from you. You're offering a power hour with you. So talk about the
Yes.
power hour with you.
So what we do in a power hour, it's completely free. There's zero cost. You can send me an email, tyler@tylerornstein.com. You can go to our website, tylerornstein.com, Ornstein. A good way to remember is Ornstein,
Yeah,
but Steinstein, whatever, right? Anyway,
exactly.
long story short, I want to do a power hour with small businesses and up and coming businesses. And I want to just sit down with you. I want to go over your numbers. I want to go over your costs. I want to go over your hardships. And I want to see if I can bring you value. And if I can, sweet.
Awesome. That is such a generous offer. I love that. And of course, the Badass Crew knows that I've got the email in the show notes. So all they have to do is go click your email and they'll be able to do that. And of course,
Beautiful.
for in case this happens to be the first time somebody is listening to the show, then all you have to do to get the show notes is grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, scroll under Tyler's picture, and there you will see Tyler's email, so you can reach out to him to schedule your power hour with Tyler. So Tyler, thank you so much for being here and sharing your no bullshit
Also don't
approach
forget
to
to pick up
success.
also don't forget to pick up Tyler's coffees, tylerscoffees.com. We are doing first time orders 10% off.
Look at that. So if you're someone who is intrigued by this acid-free coffee, go to tylerscoffee.com. We'll have the link in the show notes. And for your first order, you get 10% off. Look at that. That's awesome. I love it. So Tyler, thank you for being here and sharing your no bullshit approach to success. I love it.
No, thank you. I really appreciate the time. And I really support a lot of small businesses out there. And I think it's so important that we build a much stronger family in small business and much better community in small business, because let's be honest, America runs on small business.
Yeah, it does. Agreed. Absolutely. All right. And of course, Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.